War is a universal language. I know a renegade soldier when I see one. Never occurred to me that one might come from above.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to episode 44 of the DNA Film Wars podcast. Today we are reviewing Captain Marvel.
What entry is this? 22?
20, I think.
22, the 22nd injury into the...
No, because Infinity War was 19, right?
Was it?
I think it was. So this is 20, right?
No, because remember there was a movie after.
Oh, there was
Infinity
Ant-Man. No, that was the one.
War? No.
Ant-Man on the Wasp was after, so this is 21, right?
This might be 21. Anyway, like the 21st or 22nd entry into the 10 years long running MCU, and this is supposed to be our big build up or lead into Endgame, setting up our hero that's supposed to come in and I guess save the day and beat the big baddie of Thanos or whatever. But what are your thoughts? What do you think?
Just give the credits. That's what you're supposed to do.
Do you want me to do the credits?
Yeah.
Anyway, so this movie was directed by a filmmaking duo of Annette Bening and Ryan Fleck. Screenplay by Annette Bening, Ryan Fleck, Geneva Robertson-Dworet. Story by Nicole Perlman, Meg Lefebvre, and also the people who wrote the screenplay. And it is starring Brie Larson, Samuel L. Jackson, Ben Mendelsohn, Clark Gregg, and Jude Law. What'd you think, man?
Let's start out with what were our expectations going into this?
Going into this, judging based on... So that first trailer for me was god-awful.
It's bad.
The second one gave me a tad bit more hope, but not much, honestly. I still wasn't expecting much from this movie. I was expecting it to be worse than... What would you say the worst MCU movie is? I mean, are we on the same page of The Dark
Thor
World?
2, yeah.
Okay.
Followed closely by Iron Man 3.
They're both pretty bad. I'd definitely say I was expecting it to be worse than Thor The Dark World. I was expecting this to be probably one of the worst MCU movies. Thor The Dark World's pretty bad, so I don't know if I was expecting it to be that bad. But I definitely wasn't expecting much. I was expecting, if our scale was on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe a 2 or 3 out of 10. But it was better than I thought it was going to be. I'll give it that.
Yeah, so my expectations going in were about the same as yours. The trailers didn't show me anything that I liked. Me and you both had listened and read reviews from respectable critics that, I'm not going to say they panned it, but they didn't give it flattering reviews. And some of these people I thought are usually pretty soft on movies, so for them to be giving it mediocre reviews, I was like, this might be ugly. But, so going into it, and maybe this is why I ended up enjoying it as much as I did, because my expectations
were really low.
Were rock bottom.
Yeah,
as far as Marvel films go.
I remember both of us, when we both saw the first trailer, we were both like, Green Lantern bad?
Because the trailers, to me, reeked of Green Lantern.
They really do. Like, when you see, like, the shot of them, slow-mo walking toward this ship toward the beginning of the trailer, and they're wearing all green. I'm like, Green Lantern Corps right here? Is this the Green Lantern Corps? Are we watching this?
Yeah, the fact that she's a pilot.
I was like, I don't
crashed
know.
And
which, I mean, maybe those characters did
her.
borrow off of each other when they were written in the comics, but...
I'm sure Captain Marvel borrowed off of Green Lantern. I mean, I'm sure Stan wasn't above ripping off characters, but...
Rest in peace, Stan Lee.
But,
Don't you tarnish his name that way.
So let's get into our initial thoughts, though, I guess. So your initial thoughts, pretty good?
A lot better than I was expecting. Like I said, I was expecting, a pretty bad movie as far as I was concerned. But walking out of this, I was thoroughly entertained for the most part. I mean, it has some problems that we'll get into here in a minute. But as far as everything goes, I still don't think it's top 10 Marvel. But I mean, considering the fact that there's 20 movies, I mean, it's probably somewhere between 15 and 10. I'd put it at maybe 12 or 13. It was pretty enjoyable. I'll give it that.
Yeah, I agree. I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to. We'll get into the specifics of it. I thought it started off really strong. It kind of tapered off towards later, but we'll get into the specifics. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. I never thought that it dragged too bad. I mean, it's only 2 hours, like right at 2 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours and 4 minutes. So that's including credits if you watch both post-credit scenes.
Yeah, so I mean, it didn't drag too
there are
bad.
two.
There are two. I mean, you don't really have to say. We'll talk about them when we get to the end, but you don't really have to say for the second one if you don't want to.
But, anyway, before we get into this plot and we start actually delving into this will contain spoilers, so if you have not seen the movie yet, don't listen to this review in full.
Unless you don't care.
Unless you don't care.
Which then why would you listen to our review? Yeah, so heavy spoilers. We're going to talk about every little grit. Well, maybe not every little grit.
We're going to go through every major plot point.
We're going to go through the major plot points. So let's go ahead and get started. The movie starts out with the best scene in the entire movie, hands down.
The Marvel opening
the Marvel
logo. Which is actually really, really, it's really touching. I mean, I know the people in our theater cheered, and it was, instead of them doing, like, the classic superheroes as they're scrolling through all the, like, comic book pages for the Marvel opening title sequence or whatever, we actually have little shots of Stan Lee and his cameos throughout the years and the films, and it's a really cool moment.
And as it's coming to an end, it says, "Thank you, Stan."
Thank you, Stan Lee. And I know everyone cheered right after that happened, and I was like, best part of the movie right there.
I mean, it honestly was like that got more. I mean, I'm not. This is not bashing the movie. This is just being like, honestly, that had the most emotional response out of me is anything that's in the movie.
But it was really cool to see that. Like we said, rest in peace, Stan Lee. You're a legend.
Yeah. That was great. So we're getting to our opening sequence. Our opening sequence is
a flashback, actually.
A flashback.
Kind of. It's a dream, I guess.
Of some sort. Yeah, she's lying in the dirt and she looks up and she sees a woman standing up next to her who we'll come to learn about as the movie goes on, and we see a Skrull walking out of the dust towards her with his gun pointed at her, and then we cut and she wakes up from
a dream on the planet of Hala, which is where the Kree Empire is based around,
or the Kree homeworld or main planet or whatever, and she goes and she wakes up Jude Law, who is her mentor in this movie, and she can't sleep, and she wants to just fight, and so him and her have a sparring session. It is said that we see her have like these photon like powers.
Yeah.
It's implied that they put something on her wrist that gave her these powers.
They gave her these powers or whatever.
And we see something in her neck like activating, because he says, what is given can be taken away. But anyway, they're having a fight, and he beats her. Like, she can't bring him down without the help of her photon blasts. And he's trying to teach her how to bring him down without the help of her photon blast. And he's trying to, of course, the classic spiel of, don't let your emotions control you, da-da-da.
Anyway, he hits her again, and she gets emotional, and so she blasts him in the wall.
And I like this opening scene here. I think it's
one of the better scenes in the movie. I'll give it that.
It's a good introduction, I think, to her character, that she's really self-confident, but she's not she's not a great hand-to-hand fighter, but she has these special photon blasts that give her more powers, and it asks a lot of questions that I want answered, like why did they give her these photon blasts and not somebody else?
And what's up with this dream? Like, what's going on with this? Was one of my big questions. While we're talking about the scene, I mean, we can probably get into the writing a little bit. I mean, there's some banter going back and forth between Jude Law and Brie Larson. Some of it's hit or miss. I can get behind some of it, and some of it's kind of funny. She has a couple little quips. I mean, obviously this is a Marvel movie.
There's a lot of quips in this.
There's a lot of quips and a lot of.
It's a funnier. I mean, they're going for more comedy in this one.
Yeah, they're definitely going for some comedy. I mean, there's definitely some dramatic moments in the film, but some of them land, some of them don't. But
yeah, I think here in this opening scene, the writing's fine. I got no major.
The writing can be hit or miss in this movie, though.
I do like thinking back on it. It does. There is a big plot hole that starts here or maybe not. Maybe I just didn't catch it, that they never explain. Why is Jude Law not blue?
Well, not all Krees are blue.
I thought all Krees were blue.
No, not all Krees are blue, are they? Because I mean that one guy who's played by I don't even want to try to pronounce his name, but I'm gonna.
Oh yeah.
Digimon.
He's not blue.
Yeah, he's not blue.
Okay. I mean, okay. I don't.
And that one guy looked like he had like a tanner skin complexion. Like, I don't know, maybe he was like Hispanic or something.
Okay.
Or Asian, possibly. I'm not sure.
Okay. I don't know. I just thought of that.
Well, I won't get into that, but
yeah, we'll talk about it later. But anyway, moving on. So we have this, and so Brie Larson, she whose character is Beers early on. She wants to be given a mission. She wants to help the Kree fight this war against the Skrulls. So she goes and visits the
Supreme Intelligence, which is like the leader of the Kree, I guess.
It's an AI that
runs the world.
Is the leader of the Kree, and when you hook up to it, it shows it takes the form of someone who you admire or is important to you.
Yeah.
So for her, it takes the form of someone she doesn't remember because she doesn't remember her
Played
past.
by Annette Bening.
Yeah, and we'll learn about her real character later on. But here, the Supreme Chancellor.
Too much Star Wars.
Wow.
The Supreme
I get
Intelligence.
some Star Wars vibes later on. We'll talk about it. But the Supreme Intelligence, she basically says, you're a trainer or whatever. Jude Law doesn't think you're ready or thinks you're too emotional or whatever.
But we want to test you out. We know you want to serve, so she's like, we got a mission for you. So this mission is to we find out they have this shot from the trailer where we got the first Green Lantern vibes where they're walking and they're all wearing their green suits. We're like, oof. It ends up being fine. It plays out all right. We have this mission. They get on this little ship, and Jude Law's character, whose name I don't actually know what his character is supposed to be.
Doesn't matter.
Comes in. He's Jude Law. He comes in, and he's like, so our mission is to find this spy that's on this other planet, and we're supposed to obtain him and bring him back. And then he's like, make sure you follow protocol.
Yeah.
So we end up on this planet, and we get here, and we find out that we're not supposed to interact with the locals there, really, because they're kind of hostile.
And we know that we learn that Skrulls can shapeshift.
Yeah, we learn that Skrulls can shapeshift. So we get on this planet, and we're kind of going about this mission, and they kind of start to have to interact with these people, and Carol Danvers, we find out later her name is Carol Danvers, which, I mean, if you don't know that by now, then
you're not a Marvel fan.
You're not paying attention. Anyway, so Captain Marvel, or Varys, I guess as she's called right now, she goes off kind of on her own and tries to find this person, and she ends up finding him simultaneously. Jude Law and his whole band of people find out that these people are Skrulls, and they start shooting, and they start having this little fight or little skirmish, and Brie Larson's character, Varys, tries to go about interacting with this person that they're supposed to be finding, and tries to start following protocol, and asks him about his this code or something that they have, some verification ID number, and he knows it somehow, but he ends up being a Skrull, and then it just goes south from there.
Yeah, I think early on they really do a good job of playing with the fact that Skrulls can shapeshift.
Yeah.
I think later on in the movie they don't ever entirely drop it, but I think they use it less effectively later on. But over here early in this scene, I think it's done really well because their sniper, she's tricked by a Skrull, taking the shape of one of their comrades, and then of course the big twist that their spy is Ben Mendelsohn.
Ben Mendelsohn's character.
We'll talk about Ben Mendelsohn in a little bit, but she's captured. They hang her upside down, and
they've been accessing her brain, trying to find out the coordinates to find this light speed engine. And
here in this flashback sequence, I'll go ahead and talk about it. This is really, really hit you with the feminist message here. And I knew going in this was going to be a huge, just a giant feminist message, which...
It doesn't necessarily bother me. It's not overwhelming completely. I mean, it's very in your face, and you understand that's definitely the message of this. Yeah. But I don't feel like it just completely bashed me over the head with it.
I feel like it did. I don't have a problem with feminism, but I've always said, I don't like it when movies bash you over the head with their message. I think this movie, it bashes you over the head with feminism.
It definitely is a very strong point made in this movie, a very strong point from that feminism standpoint. But overall, I don't think it deters really or drags down the movie in any way for me.
I think it does hurt it, and I think they go overboard in parts. But like I'll say at the end of this, I enjoyed the movie in spite of that. And I'm not saying you can't have a feminist message. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I just don't like when movies bash you over the head with the message. That's what they're doing here. But I knew that coming in. That's what was going to happen. I got over it pretty quick. But anyway, so we have this flashback sequence, and the Skrulls learn that this doctor that they're looking for, Dr. Walters, is that what they say? Dr. Walter? Something like that.
Dr. Lawson.
Okay. Dr.
Lawson.
They're looking for this Dr. Lawson, but Brie Larson is able to escape by superheating the.
And this is honestly, I would agree. I would have to say this is probably which a lot of other people say, and this is probably the best scene in the entire movie. I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, as far as action scenes in this film go, I think they're hit and miss.
The action scenes.
I forgot. Before she got captured back on this planet, we had this big action scene, like you said, where all the villagers turned out to be Skrulls, and they had this big scene. Well, I didn't like that action scene because it was way underlit, and the way it was edited together, I couldn't really tell what was going on.
No, it's kind of just like...
There's a lot of Star Wars laser blast shields going on.
And we got some people flipping around and just all over the place.
And like I said, it's way underlit. And it's really underlit is the biggest problem there.
Which that comes up a lot in this movie. There are a lot of action scenes that are underlit and are edited together oddly.
Yeah, but this scene here that's coming up, she superheats her the things retaining her. She breaks out. Her hands are still covered with these
little like
clamp things.
Yeah.
But
she just proceeds to like escape, and so she just starts
pounding
on people. And
I think it's a decent action. I still think the editing gets a little choppy at times, a little too like cut fast paced and a little shaky cams a little bit, but. Oh, I mean, it's an exciting scene. I like the idea that she can't...
I mean, overall, this is probably the best action scene in the movie.
She can't use her photon blast because, I mean, like we said, her hands are covered, so she's
just wailing on people.
She's just wailing on the Skrulls. I mean, it's a fun scene. I do like it.
She makes some quips that are actually decent, I guess.
Early on in the movie, let's talk about Brie Larson real quick. Early on in the movie...
She's at her best, I think...
The first act
of the movie, yeah.
She's really funny. I mean, she's really funny. I think she's got some personality. I never get to a point where I don't like her really, per se, but later on in the movie, her character levels out some, and she definitely kind of becomes more...
Plateaus, she's
plateaus, yeah, she's just kind of... Her character is what it is. There's no, like... big change or big emotion. I don't think she ever an Oscar moment.
No. Which for an Oscar winning actress, I mean, she's an extremely talented individual. Don't get me wrong.
I think she's Oscar nominated.
I think she's an Oscar. I thought she won Oscar for Best Actress in the movie Room.
Did she?
I think so.
I know she's nominated. I didn't know if she won, but anyway, it doesn't matter. She's a very talented actress. We saw Room. We don't know if you have seen Room. But not
excellent movie.
Not The Room, but Room. She's good in that. She's really good in that movie. She's also in Kong Skull Island. I mean, not a movie that anyone's particularly going to shine in, but she's good in that. She's good enough for what her role is. And I'll say about the same thing here in this movie is she's good enough for what the role requires.
Yeah.
She's not exceptional.
I mean, if you could go back and say, would you say, like, Brie Larson has to be Captain Marvel, or would you think that maybe you could have cast someone else?
I'm not going to say she has to be Captain... Like, at this point, now, maybe a few more movies under her belt, I'll say I can't see anyone else be in that role, but right now, I think there's a myriad of actresses that could have done the same thing that she does here, honestly. And I'm not saying that she's terrible, I'm just saying that...
She just kind of...
Maybe slightly above average.
Yeah. She has her scenes, and she's at her best when, which we'll get into this here in a minute. She's at her best when she,
when she's playing off somebody else.
Yeah, when she's playing off someone else.
Jude
Like
Law.
when we get into this buddy cop part of the film where she's with Nick Fury.
Yeah.
Those are some of her better scenes when she's
early
bantering
on,
back and forth.
When she's playing off Jude Law, it's good. When she's playing off Samuel L., she's good.
When she's by herself, she kind of falls flat
when she's by herself, or when she's with her best friend that we meet later, that relationship kind of falls flat for me. But we'll talk about that when we get there. Anyway, so she gets out of this Skrull ship
and plummets Earth,
and it turns out they're in orbit around Earth, which is, what do they call it?
C-53.
C-53 or something. And she plummets Earth. And here we go with the 90s nostalgia.
Here it comes.
She falls into a Blockbuster video. Personally, I think at this point, Blockbuster jokes are kind of overdone.
They're overdone, but I mean...
And you've seen this in the trailer.
It's the 90s. I mean, Blockbuster was obviously a big deal.
It was everywhere, yeah.
I miss Blockbuster.
Speaking of, I just saw a news article where there's like one last Blockbuster in Oregon somewhere. I thought they were all close. Or something. Yeah, like they bought the rights to use the name, but I mean I don't think the actual company still exists. But anyway, off topic. And then she crashes through the roof, and then she comes out and goes up to the little mall cop or whatever, and is like, or the security guard is like,
"Is this splendid C-53?" He's like, "Huh?"
And after a little conversation, she's like, "I need some communication equipment." Of course, he points her to
a Radio Shack.
I knew that was coming. Everybody, some guy behind us is like, "It's a Radio Shack." I was like, "Yeah,
you're right.
We all know that's coming." I'm honestly surprised there's not more like. I mean, there's a lot of like throwback as far as music and stuff goes. I'm surprised there's not more like company like throwback that they do. I don't know. They probably couldn't get the logos for all of them, but.
Marvel's got money.
Marvel's got plenty
Disney's
of money.
got money.
Disney's got plenty of money to throw around. But anyway, they got Blockbuster and Radio Shack. I mean, everyone knows those, and they're the butt end of a lot of jokes nowadays. But anyway, so she rigs
Goes
this
up to this payphone and
she
rigs it up.
and she's talking to Jude Law, and she tells him where she's at and everything. And so he's on his way, and as soon as she's done doing this, Samuel L. and Clark Gregg show up. And of course, Samuel L's like, I heard that there was a girl that fell from space through the Blockbuster ceiling.
She's like, yeah, I don't know where she went.
She went that way. And, let's go ahead and talk about, the big topic coming into this movie was the de-aging CGI on Samuel L.
It's excellent.
It looks great on Samuel L. On Clark Gregg, I thought it looked awkward.
Clark Gregg, it's weird seeing it on Clark Gregg because we all have seen Clark Gregg from 10 years ago. We know what he looks like. We've seen him, and we're like, okay, well, that's what Clark Gregg looks like. Seeing him with that de-aging effect on him makes him just look, like you said. I think you said when we came out of the movie, not very real. It doesn't look real because we're not used to really seeing him as that character that young.
Well, it's not really that he's
perfect face.
It's like his face. Like he has no blemishes, no wrinkles.
He's
no
literally
anything.
like he has like perfect complexion, perfect skin.
Like I don't think Clark Gregg ever looked like that. I mean, it's not like taking me out of the movie bad.
No.
It's just I think it's obvious. I think it's noticeable on him, but on Samuel L. it's great. I mean, it's a leap forward in CGI technology on Samuel L. They did a great job. They worked really hard on that. But anyway, so we quickly go into another action scene where Clark Gregg,
a group of Skrulls have shape shifted into these surfers that they saw on the beach when they crash landed too, and we start this big action sequence.
Yeah. And she gets on the train, and you've seen this in the trailer where she punches the old lady, who's a Skrull, obviously, and they get into a fight. And in the car, and Samuel L. Jackson and Clark Gregg and Agent Coulson are chasing them in the car. And this is another good use of the Skrull's ability to shapeshift. Turns out that I didn't see this one coming. Turns out that Agent Coulson in the car with Samuel L. is a Skrull because Agent Coulson radios him back.
He's
to
like,
the
hey,
I'm still a Blockbuster.
Still a Blockbuster. Where'd you go?
I didn't. That one was good. I didn't see that one coming. And then they get into a car crash that, luckily for Fury, kills the Skrull, and he gets out alive. And it gives him a cut above his eye. He hasn't lost his eye yet. We'll get to that later. Anyway, so Brie Larson, she ends up is that Ben Mendelsohn on the train with her? I can't remember.
Yeah, I believe so.
And he gets away, but anyway, her and Samuel L. Jackson meet back up, and they go to this secret.
Well, first off, before we get there, we have this scene where after this chase ends and Nick Fury's sitting here, he's got this dead Skrull in his car, and so police start showing up, and he pulls out his badge. He's like, official S.H.I.E.L.D. business. And I'm like, whatever.
I was wondering at that point, is he working for S.H.I.E.L.D. yet, or is he just like a cop?
He's a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent.
I know that now, but I was like, at that point, I was wondering, is it going to be like he's going to go into S.H.I.E.L.D. because of these events? But no, he's already a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. I think he's probably already director of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I don't think he's the director.
No, he's not the director.
He's just an agent.
Because his boss has been Mendelsohn.
Yeah, his boss has been Mendelsohn. So we have the scene where he's back at S.H.I.E.L.D. and they're doing this autopsy on this Skrull, and Ben Mendelsohn walks out, and obviously we're all expecting Ben Mendelsohn to be the bad guy because that's what he does. That's Ben Mendelsohn.
That's Ben Mendelsohn.
So he walks out and he's playing it all up like okay, and then Samuel L. walks out and he leans down to this dead Skrull and whispers in his ear something. And
yeah, honestly, I didn't really expect him to be a Skrull at that point. I figured that this was going to be who the Skrull that Ben Mendelsohn is playing would turn into later, but no, he's already the Skrull taking that form. And Brie Larson at this point, Beers at this point, has she's gone off to a biker bar, and
I'm going to cover something from her past.
Yeah, and she steals the biker's bike. she goes
takes off.
She goes to this bar where she remembers from her past. She meets back up with Samuel L. Jackson there, and Nick Fury, whatever, same thing. And they have a conversation, and she's like, it's kind of funny. She's like, prove to me you're not a Skrull. And system to see with like if toast.
Well, he says. Well, they have this whole conversation about give me information that scrolls can only they can only produce memories from so long, and so he goes through he was born in Alabama. He's like, but I don't remember that part. And he says this a bunch of other stuff. She's like, okay, now one last thing. I need you to give me a piece of information so ridiculous that no scroll could ever fabricate it. He's like, if toast is cut into triangles, I just can't eat it.
I thought it was cut diagonally. I can't eat it.
Yeah, it's just great.
So stupid. I was like, what?
I laughed.
But and then he's like, prove to me you're not a scroll. And so she photon blasts the jukebox, and he's like, how's that prove to me that you're not a scroll?
That's a She's like, that's a photon blast. Scrolls can't do that. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
And Samuel L's character is just like, okay.
This is being simultaneously a fish out of water and a buddy cop, and it works. I think both of those genres mixed together right here works right at this point. But anyway, so they go off to this. They're trying to find out who this Dr. Larson is, so they go to this secret
Operation Pegasus or whatever.
Operation Pegasus base or whatever, and they sneak their way in, and
they don't really sneak. I guess they kind of
they get
they're
in.
let in,
and they Nick Fury gets a fingerprint off somebody's ID by using tape, and then she photon blasts a lot later, and he's like,
"Why did you do that earlier?"
And she's like, "I didn't want to steal your thunder." It's kind of funny. But anyway,
like we said, Brie Larson's at her best when she's playing off of someone.
This is the first scene where we see the pager. And he pages to his agents that he needs backup. So he's gonna turn her in at this point, but then he gets in the elevator with his boss when they show up, and he calls him.
We have this scene as they're pulling in where he has to say his full name. He's like, it's Nicholas Joseph Fury, and she's like, you have 3 names, and she's like, well,
he's like,
I go by Fury. He's like, everyone calls me Fury, and she's
goes
like this whole list.
Who does your kids, your mom call you? What does your wife call you? What does your kids call you? And he's like, well, if I had kids, they'd call me Fury. And
anyway, so he gets on. We flash forward back to where we were. He gets on this elevator with Ben Mendelsohn's character, who he's getting on this elevator, and he's like, well done, Nicholas, or something like that. And he's like, uh-oh.
He's like, uh-oh. So he tries to go warn Veers, but it's too late. She's already been, or she's already
trying to escape.
Already trying to escape, and then she goes back for him because she overhears on the radio we're to take in Fury, dead or alive. And there's another action scene. Her and Fury get into a fight with Ben Mendelsohn, and all this happens, and they get away by getting on the precursor to the Quinjet, this jet thing that looks like a Quinjet, and they get away, and so
we fly to Louisiana.
Because
she has found out some information while they're at this place that she goes into the records room and she's trying to find out information about this Dr. Lawson, and ends up uncovering a little bit of something about herself. She's like, she sees herself in a picture. They uncover that this flight gone wrong, and there's a plane crash, and there were no survivors and no record of anything, and it's kind of been covered up completely because it was so top secret that it basically never happened. And only one person gave a testimonial, and it was this person that we have found out in earlier scenes from flashbacks was probably Brie Larson's former or past life's best friend or whatever. And so we're in this plane, and we're like, okay, so which way is Louisiana? He's like, due east, hit Memphis, take a right.
Take a left.
He says take a right.
I thought he said take a
left.
No, he
says take a right.
Okay, whatever. Doesn't matter.
It matters.
Doesn't matter.
Anyway, so then we flash forward, and we're in Louisiana.
We're in Louisiana. But this is where I think the movie kind of hits a rough patch, because we're introduced to the character that is her best friend, whose name I don't remember.
We will look.
And she has a daughter, and basically they were like her adopted family before she lost her memory.
Maria Rambo.
Sorry. So Maria and her daughter, they call her daughter Lieutenant Treble. I don't really care for these characters. I mean, not that I don't think they're bad characters. They never resonate with me, and it's in the relationship. They never sell it to me, so I don't really care. But we spend a lot of time with
the acting during this part kind of falls flat on Brie Larson's part. It doesn't really help us feel for these characters. Like the interaction between these characters isn't great, because Brie Larson's acting is now who she finds out her name is Carol.
Carol Danvers.
Has fallen flat a little bit.
This kind of bugs me. This is a minor gripe, but they've been calling her Veers because they found her with her dog tag.
The last part of her dog tag that has VERS on it.
But VERS is Vers. It's not Veers or whatever. But anyway, yeah, and like you said, I think that her acting takes a bit of a dip. I think that there's kind of a sudden change in tone here. Like we go hard right or hard left from really lighthearted fights
buddy
and
cop,
jokey,
and then fish out of water
and
to
then
like
we take a hard left to like, oh, she's recovering her memories and like her
gotta
past
find out about your
life, and it's
past.
really emotional. I don't know. I mean, I like darker when movies go darker, but I felt like this was just like really hard left turn here. They did. I don't know if they earned this sudden change in emotion, but we get past it real quick because Ben Mendelsohn
shows up.
And
his name is Tarlos or something like that.
Tarlos, something like that.
It is Talos. My bad,
Talos.
Talos.
And he's like, don't, because one of his Cree friends is outside with the girl's daughter, and
Scroll friends.
One of his Skrull friends is out with the woman's daughter, and it's like, don't do anything we're gonna regret. But anyway, they figure out he wants the audio. He has the audio recording from the black box of whatever ship that Brie Larson, or I'm sorry, Carol Danvers was flying, but he doesn't have the technology to play it. So we have another '90s joke where they go and find out. They find like a tower, a computer tower, and they put it in. And it takes a little bit.
And she's like, "What's going on?" He's like, and Nick Fury's like, "It's loading."
And anyway,
I didn't really laugh at that. I mean, it was kind of funny, but I mean, there are a lot of people.
By this point,
I thought laughing.
I thought at this point the '90s jokes were getting a little old, and the people in the theater were dying laughing at every one of them. And I was like, okay, it's not that funny. It was all the people in the theater that lived in the '90s, and I guess thought it was funny because they're old.
I mean, even still, some of those things carry over into the early 2000s, which we definitely lived through. And
yeah.
I mean, even still, they're kind of like, there's just so many that sometimes, by this point, it's just been overwhelmed with this 90s nostalgia vibe. And you're like, okay, I mean, we get it.
I've been to a Blockbuster. I mean,
like, we've been to a Blockbuster.
I was
like,
born
we
in
get
'97.
We were born, we understand dial-up. We understand how slow computers
I've been to a Radio Shack. I mean, I remember all this. It's not like... This is
like, we know who these bands are that you're putting on trips. Yeah. Like, we've listened to this music.
Oh, there's a piece of music later on that I thought was really questionable for the scene.
Yeah.
But we'll get there in a second. But anyway, they have this conversation with Ben Mendelsohn, Talos, and it is revealed that
Ben Mendelsohn is not the bad guy.
Ben Mendelsohn is not the bad guy, and I'll go ahead and spoil this later. I was expecting a double twist where it was like he's not the bad guy, but he really is the bad guy. But that never happens. He's just really not the bad guy.
Anyway, during this scene, she's basically flashing back while listening to this audio of this flight gone wrong, and we have this whole crash, and we get a look as they're flying through space and back into the atmosphere of Earth, and we see what looks to be a Kree ship. And we have this crash landing, and Annette Bening's character of Dr. Larson reveals that she's actually a Kree, and she's been here on a secret mission to develop this technology.
She's not blue either.
She's not blue.
I said her blood, but
yeah, her blood's blue. I guess the Kree blood is blue.
Whatever.
But she reveals that her name is Mar-Vell.
Mar-Vell. 2 words, or hyphenated.
2 words.
Mar-Vell. But
and she's been working on this, light speed technology.
Yeah, at first. I mean, once they get later into the movie, we realize it's not really the fact that it can go light speed that they're after, but I was like, a light speed engine is really going to be the big catalyst here. Like, they have the technology. I know they have to go to certain jump points, but they can, jump through folds in space. It's like, a light speed engine really that important?
I mean, I guess it would help you get to those jump points faster.
Yeah.
But, I mean, does it really matter?
And she said something about being able to go to different galaxies.
You can already do that, can't you?
I don't know. I mean, they have to go to certain jump. Yeah, they do that in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Wasn't Ego way far?
He had to go to 237. I think was the number. 237 jump points.
And going light speed, at light speed, you're not gonna get very far. You have to be going several hundred times the speed of light to get anywhere. Really, I mean, where they're wanting to go. I mean, that's a Lucas problem from way back in Star Wars. We're not going to get into that.
Thank you, George Lucas.
Thank you, George. Speed. Yes.
I guess really we can thank Star Trek. So.
Well, no, Star Trek never had that problem because they always referred to it as warp
speed.
So you weren't really sure how fast they were. So they never had that problem.
It was faster, but it wasn't.
It was faster. Lucas is the one that didn't understand how light speed worked. And
he's like, ooh, light speed. That sounds cool.
He's like, and when Han Solo was like, we can go 0.5 past light speed, and I was like, well, you'll get to the next solar system in a couple of years, I guess. But anyway, that's for a Star Wars podcast. Yeah, anyway. So yeah, they're after this engine, they can get a light speed or whatever.
Anyway,
but in the scene, like you were talking about,
Jude Law's character, who I found out whose character's name is Jan Rog, walks out of the dust.
Not such a big plot twist.
The same flashback as or the dream sequence that we had at the beginning, except we find out that it wasn't the scroll. It was actually Jan Rog.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I kind of going into this, I mean, one of the first trailers I saw, when I saw Jude Law, I was like, he kind of looks...
I figured Jude Law...
I was like, Jude Law will probably be the bad guy, but I was like you said this, and I didn't realize it until after you said it. I was like, thinking about it, I wasn't really thinking about him being the bad guy walking into this movie until they did, and I was like, oh, you're right, I really was expecting that.
Yeah, this is what really happened for me, was like, when I watched the trailer, like I said, I had expected him to be the bad guy going into the movie. During the movie, like, I was into the movie enough that I kind of forgot, We had a scene earlier that we didn't talk about where he and the guy that's name is really hard to pronounce, who it was also in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
They are having a conversation with a hologram of Ronan.
Ronan the Inky,
who is the bad guy from the first Guardians of the Galaxy. And we obviously know that the guy whose name is really hard to pronounce, he's working with Ronan later in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
So we know he's a bad guy later on. But Jude Law acts like he's trying to hide the fact that
they're going to Earth.
Or, trying to make him out to be a good guy. So, I really didn't think about it. But when we go to this flashback where they're showing, where she's seeing clearly what happened that day with Dr. Lawson. I mean, as soon as they started flying, I saw the little Kree shit. I was like, okay, this is going to be like one of Ronan's people or something. It's not going to be a Skrull. It's going to be like one of Ronan's people. And then, like, right after they crash, it's like, oh, it's going to be Jude Law walking out of the dust. And I was like, yeah. Which, I wonder why she misremembered it at the beginning of the movie and saw Ben Mendelsohn.
It was a dream.
It was a dream, but it was a
kind of
memory.
being controlled by, but it was kind of, she had that thing kind of being controlled by the...
I guess she's mixing it up, yeah.
The super intelligence or whatever.
The super intelligence, yeah.
Supreme intelligence, whatever
Supreme intelligence. But anyway, so we have this scene and she realizes that the Skrulls are not the good guys, or not the bad guys, the Kree are the bad guys. Which astute Marvel viewers would have kind of figured that going in, because if you've watched Guardians of the Galaxy,
Ronan is a Kree.
Ronan's a Kree, and he's exiled by that point. But even the Kree, like when they're talking to the Nova Corps, don't seem like nice people or guardians of peace or whatever they're trying to make themselves out to be. So I figured the Kree were not going to be good guys at the end of this. I'm not well versed in the comics. I'll admit to that. I'm sure if you're well versed in the comics, you saw this coming from a mile away. But the plot twist didn't surprise me. That's what I'm trying to say.
No.
I mean, I'm not going to say I saw it fully coming, but it didn't shock me. But anyway, so we have this...
We really start getting into this. This is pretty much the third act of the finale of the film.
Yeah, the second act, like I said, the buddy cop stuff worked for me between her and Samuel. I thought once we were introduced to the character of Maria, what was her name?
Maria
Rambeau. I thought it kind of took a hit, but I'm still enjoying the movie at this point. I'm not hating it. But we get into this third act where Jude Law gets to Earth. Him and his little posse, they get to Earth. And they're hunting for... they get to this house, and Ben Mendelsohn's Kree friend, his science guy, they've been making a joke about, he is taking the form of Carol Danvers to slow down Jude Law. Jude Law figures it out because the Skrull can't recall whose blood is running through Carol Danvers' veins. And so he kills him, and he figures out before the Skrull dies, he reveals that she knows the truth. So Jude Law's like, well, crap. and they've gone off
to space to go find Marvel's lab. And it's in space.
It's in orbit. I forgot to mention the cat. Back when they went to that secret lab, they met up with Goose. You've seen him in the trailers. He's actually an alien. He'll come into play later, real big.
Oh.
But anyway, so they make their way to this
maybe a little too big
thing in orbit. Yeah, we'll talk about it. But they get to this thing in orbit, and they find that this is the point where I realize that they're probably not going to pull a double twist with Ben Mendelsohn, is when they introduce his family and they have refugees and kids, and I was like, okay, I don't think they're going to be evil.
Yeah.
He has a wife and he has a daughter on this thing, and he's not looking for the Lightspeed engine. he's looking for his family. And also it helps to make sense why everybody's after this thing is because it's not just a Lightspeed engine, it's the Tesseract.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Everything's got to come full circle,
I was trying to think, like, are they messing up their own continuity here? But, racking my brain, I don't think they are.
Was the Tesseract on Earth to begin with? Like,
in the first Avengers, it was in the basement.
Yeah, Loki came to get it from Earth.
In the basement, yeah. So, I mean, they're not, as far as I can remember, maybe minor stuff, but they're not messing up their continuity by any major way here. But anyway, so we have this little showdown where Jude Law shows up to this station too.
And as far as action sequences go, this is, in my opinion, this is the most underlit and the most poorly edited scene or action sequence in the film. And we have no doubts I'm just a girl playing in the background. Yeah,
and we have the scene where once they capture her, they hook her up to the Supreme Intelligence, which I guess can be...
I skipped a scene.
Yeah. They hook her up to they capture her and they wrap her up in some weird stuff and
well, it's the Supreme Intelligence thing that wraps her up. I guess.
They connect her to the Supreme Intelligence, which I guess is transportable, but they have.
As soon as she's hooked up to it, "Come As You Are" by Nirvana starts playing.
I was like,
okay, whatever.
Maybe we're going too far here, folks, with the '90s stuff. Nirvana, this scene is kind of odd choice, and they even call it out. I hate
like music, huh?
When movies know they're doing something stupid, they think they can fix it by calling themselves out. No.
I don't think it quite works that way.
Doesn't work that way. But anyway, she sees Dr. Larson again, or the Supreme Intelligence takes the form of Dr. Larson, and she's like, we gave you these powers. And by this point, Brie Larson has figured out that she got these powers because when she blew up the engine, the Lightspeed engine, the power of the Tesseract went into her or something. Not well defined,
cool.
But yeah. And what they put in her is actually inhibiting her powers and allowing them to control her powers. And anyway, after this long conversation, of course, she finds the power to bust out. And she starts... And my problem with this part right here, not only the action sequence like you were talking about, but once she gets rid of that inhibitor...
This scene right here really, when she's in this thing talking to the Supreme Intelligence, I think that's one of the biggest points in the movie that really tries to bash you over the head with that feminist message.
Oh yeah.
We have a lot of flashbacks with her different points in her life as a child, and they're all about her falling down and having to conquer and get back up.
Yeah, and men in the background screaming, "You're not strong enough. You're too weak. You're too all the typical cliches. I mean, I'm not saying that stuff doesn't happen.
They definitely play it up in this movie.
They play it up in this movie,
which is fine. I mean,
every man in her
Captain
past is a douchebag. But whatever. Anyway, but my problem here, not only is the CGI get a little questionable, but once she gets rid of that inhibitor, I know she's not going to lose another fight. She's so powerful by that point, none of the Skrull or the Kree can touch her. And so, of course, I mean, they slow her down a little bit, but that's about it.
And this is where we get into that big action sequence where they're playing No Doubt in the background, which is okay, I guess.
It's whatever.
Again...
Speaking of her getting rid of that thing, it's been said that she's supposed to be the most powerful Marvel hero in the MCU. Other than the fact that she can travel at the speed of light by herself, everything she can do, I feel like Thor can do better. Or as good.
She's got the power of the Tesseract.
Thor's got the power of the thunder
and lightning.
But really though, I think Thor can do everything she can do pretty much. Except for the fact that he needs a rainbow bridge to travel across the universe. Other than that, I think he could have done everything she does in this movie. But whatever. I mean, that doesn't bother me personally because I don't want her to just show up in Endgame and just magically snap her fingers and save the day. But for you to tell me she's the most powerful hero ever, I don't think they really proved that in this movie. But I don't. And I'm not saying I don't want her to be because I don't like her as a superhero. I don't want her to be because I hate when we don't need a Superman character.
It's phase 3 of Marvel, and we're trying to close out phase 3 of this 10-year long journey, and we're introducing a character this late to our conclusion. So I mean, Endgame is the last film of phase 3. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're closing out an end of an era right here. Introducing a character one movie before the end of your big 10-year before the end of your 10-year extravaganza. Introducing a character this late that you're saying is supposed to be your saving day. Where was she the rest of the other the rest of the other movies. Like, why wasn't she here to take down, Loki, or why wasn't she here to help out? Like, she's been around since the 90s.
Their excuse is that she had to grow up to find the Kree a home, or the Skrull a home, or something.
It took her 20 years?
And it took, I'm not going to ask too many questions. But anyway, let's get back to the plot. She has this big fight sequence.
And this is where, after this big fight sequence, I mean, she obviously takes down all these people and ends up getting out of the ship and flying back to Earth.
Yeah, and then Ronan shows up with his
This is where the CGI gets really rough, is when she's falling back to Earth is where it really starts. You're like,
we forgot, let me go back real quick. The cat that we mentioned earlier, it turns out that he has giant tentacles that come out of his mouth. And he's swallowed the Tesseract, and then he swallows some of the Kree bad guys. And but anyway, so they Maria gets them on the Quinjet thing, and they go back to Earth, and they're being followed.
Ben Mendelsohn's character gets shot in the process.
Yeah, and but then Captain Marvel goes and she saves them, and then Ronan shows up with like 3 warships and shoots a bunch of missiles down at Earth. Which, big thing here, like, you're telling me that nobody on Earth saw this happen? I mean, it's like they were really close to the Earth. They shot missiles into the atmosphere. Anybody with a telescope could have saw this, but whatever. I'll look over it. But she goes out, she detonates the missiles, and she destroys one of the warships, and then Ronan leaves, and that's all we see of Ronan.
And during this entire scene, this is my biggest flaw with the CGI in this film, is it's almost completely bad. Like, there are
really cartoonish.
There are certain shots I'm like, oof.
Where she's going through and blowing.
I was like, you just did de-aging CGI on Samuel L. and it does not look like you de-aged him. Like, that looks like a actual like person, and you're telling me you can't do a little bit better. I mean, there's a lot going on in some of these scenes, and I can get behind that. I mean, like, you're having to like completely create a CGI environment and then throw in a CGI character on top of that. I mean, I guess I can forgive that to a degree, but I mean, there are certain shots that just look bad.
The CGI never really pulled me out of the movie.
It doesn't pull me out. It just, I mean, I'm like,
I agree. It gets a little cartoonish here at the end. One of my big things is the cat is really obvious when they go from CGI cat to real cat. Like I said, Clark Gregg's face is is not really realistic in my opinion. But I don't have a huge problem with the CGI in this movie overall. But
I mean, other than just, like I said, a few shots during this final like sequence or showdown. Other than that, I mean, the CGI in this movie doesn't like bother me or anything.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
it's a Marvel movie.
After she gets rid of Ronan, she goes back down. Jude Law is laying on the ground, and I like what they did here. You know, he's like trying to goad her into like fighting him hand with hand-to-hand combat, like at the beginning, to prove that she can take him down without using her photon blast. And I was like, oh, don't do this trope.
Well, she photon blasts him.
But she photon blasts him. I'm like, yeah, that's what should have happened.
She's like, I have nothing to prove to you.
Yeah, which is a feminist thing. Like, women don't have anything to prove to men, but whatever. It's fine. And she throws him in his little ship and programs it to go back to Hala to tell the Supreme to tell the Supreme Intelligence that she's coming for them. Kind of like Optimus going for his creators at the end of Part 4. Only way better movie, honestly.
More than meets the eye.
More than meets the eye. But that's honestly the first thing I thought of, was that when Optimus at the end of Part 4 was like, tell my creators I'm coming for you. But anyway, then she promises to find the Skrull a new home. That's pretty much the end of the movie there. And we roll right into a mid-credit scene where it's just a scene taken from Endgame.
I think it's probably going to end up what it was filmed as a scene for Endgame, and it's probably since been cut out of the final product of Endgame.
I don't know. It's probably still in Endgame.
It might be.
If you remember when the movie, I forget what movie it was, but the movie that came out before Civil War, they had a scene from Civil War as their end credit scene. I think it's the same thing they did here, where the Avengers have the pager. They've been sending out the signal, and then Captain Marvel shows up behind.
She's like, "Where's Fury?
Where's Fury?"
At the end.
And I like the scene. Oh, let's go back to the end of the actual movie for a second. We see where Clark Gregg and Samuel L. are in it. Oh, I forgot to talk about the thing I hated most in this movie.
Oh, yeah, okay, so we'll go back.
Samuel Jackson, the way he loses his eye is Goose, the cat,
scratches
his eye. Which is played for laughs. It's kind of funny, but it makes me mad because if you remember, in Winter Soldier, they made a big deal out of him lifting out his eye patch to Robert Redford and being like, The last time I trusted somebody, I lost an eye. Here they played for laughs because he trusted the cat and the cat scratched his eye. I hate that. I felt like it really needed to be a darker moment where someone he truly trusted with his life tried to kill him. I don't like what they did.
Honestly,
here.
I don't think could we maybe have done without him losing his eye in this movie?
Yeah, it's another trope.
Okay, he lost his eye. I mean, do we have to do it in this movie?
Just like Solo and a lot of other origin movies.
Like, he's got to get his blaster.
If you know, like, every major detail about the character, if you do an origin story, you have to reveal all the, like, how he did all those things.
Like, we already know he's got these things. We don't have to know how.
And, like, in Winter Soldier, if I remember right, he doesn't have, like, cat claw marks down his eye. He has, like, one scar going down his eye. So, obviously, this was thought up on the fly. Whatever. But anyway.
That's my biggest problem with the movie. I literally looked over it and I was like, I hate this movie now.
him and Coulson are in his office, and he's like, and Coulson brings a box of glass eyes as a joke, and he has the Protector project on his computer. And
he's
then
going through some files. And
he looks at a picture and he says that he saw the plane that Carol Danvers.
Her nickname, her I guess code name or whatever.
Carol Avenger.
She's
Avengers. And he changed it to the Avenger Initiative as the Avenger theme song plays. Bum bum ba bum, and then it cuts off. And then in the mid-credit scene, you can hear like Alan Silvestri's Infinity War theme playing, and it's kind of I like his theme for Infinity War, and of course the Avengers theme is iconic now. We watched a video on YouTube where it was like the Avengers theme goes with anything. And
literally does.
Kind of funny because it literally does, but and then if you want to stick around to the end, there's a scene. Remember when I told you earlier that the cat swallowed the Tesseract?
Well, this scene, he jumps up on the desk at the end and barfs up the Tesseract onto Nick Fury's desk.
At first, when the scene popped up, I saw the empty chair, and I was like, ooh, is this going to be after the snap? And, like, the cat's going to be looking for Fury. But then I looked at the computer, and the computer's old, so I was like, no, this is still in the 90s. So, because it still has that box on the back. What's that? But anyway, it's played for laughs, and that's how he got the Tesseract. That's how he has the Tesseract at the beginning of Avengers. So I guess it all worked out. But we've talked about this movie for a god awful
almost an hour.
So let's get into our final thoughts. What did you think? Honestly,
well, let's go through this. Let's go through this. We haven't done this in a while. Let's break it down by our thoughts on, like, say, acting, and then we can go through the story and then our visual effects. So, like, overall, as far as acting in this film goes, I mean, Brie Larson is good. Like we've said multiple times, Brie Larson is at her best when she is playing off of someone, specifically Samuel L. Like, she's really, really good when she's playing off of Samuel L.
They have chemistry.
It's very quippy, and the banter between them is great, and the writing and dialogue for their characters during these scenes is great. When we go to this home in Louisiana, and she meets with her friend, and she starts trying to go take this, more serious tone of we have to find out who I am, and instead of her acting kind of falls flat, and she becomes this, what she's supposed to be, I guess, is this hero, because she's supposed to be some great, noble hero. She becomes stoic, which is, I guess, a good way to describe it. She's just flat and kind of, there, and almost emotionless at times, even though it's supposed to be like a deep and emotional thing, like, oh, I'm finding out who I am, but I mean, it falls flat, but then it kind of, there's not really, I guess, a whole lot of acting needed to be done at the end toward this finale sequence, but I mean, because it's mostly action. But I mean, overall, Brie Larson, she's decent. I think she could have been better for her talent level. I mean, she's an excellent actress, phenomenal, Oscar winning, like we've said. But as far as this goes, I mean, like you said at the beginning, she's above average. Samuel L. is great. He's Samuel L. Jackson. I mean, he's like one of the most charismatic people in the freaking world. Everybody else is fine. Jude Law is fine. I mean, supporting cast is, I mean, they're here. They're in the movie.
Yeah.
So as far as acting goes, I mean, it's decent. The writing is hit or miss. I mean, some of the dialogue and banter falls flat at times, I think, in my opinion. I mean, like I said, the dialogue between Carol and, say, anyone that she's pretty much playing off, like when she plays off of Jude Law's character toward the beginning, or when she plays off of Nick Fury, is great, and the writing for that's great. And some of the story elements are really cool. Like, I mean, I enjoy the twist of, I enjoy the twist of Ben Mendelsohn, being the good guy. The Skrulls are actually good people, and that he's really in search of his family, and he's not after, this all-powerful thing, and how the Kree are bad. And I mean, I think it's a decent story, and I enjoy parts of it. but the writing, like I said, it's hit or miss. As far as like visual effects are great for the most part. I mean, it looks good. One thing I've been hearing from some of the people that whose reviews we listen to on YouTube or watch on YouTube, a lot of them are saying like it doesn't have a very specific style. I can definitely see what they're talking about. This movie could have been made by any other person in the MCU, and I mean, you could have picked any pretty decent director out there and been like, okay, whatever. It just looks like it's just a movie. I mean, it's shot fairly well in certain scenes. Some of it's very choppily edited. Some of these action sequences, but I mean, overall, I mean, it's a decently well put together movie, but there are some flaws, some parts where it's really underlit, especially in those action sequences. It's just not edited together very well, and it's really hard to follow, and you just don't know what's going on. And I think that's one of its biggest problems. But I mean, other than that, I mean, I really actually enjoyed this movie quite a bit. It was a lot better than I thought it was going into this. Like I said, wasn't expecting really anything, and so to walk out of it and enjoying this movie, I think is the biggest compliment I can give it. So on a scale of 1 to 5, I'll give it. I'm actually gonna be really nice. I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5 photon blasts.
Take my ranking, Dylan.
I'm sorry,
but yeah, I agree with you for the most part. Like you said, acting. I think that Brie Larson starts out strong. Like you said, she's good when she's playing off somebody else, whether it be Jude Law, Samuel L. Jackson, really especially Samuel L. Jackson. Towards the second, especially in the second act and into the third act, she kind of gets a little wooden. She kind of plateaus, like you said earlier. I like that phrase. She kind of plateaus. She just, she is. But I don't have any major gripes. I don't think, like, if you recast somebody else, like went back and cast somebody else, are they going to do way better?
Probably
not. I think some of it's the direction and the writing. Samuel L. Jackson, like you said, charismatic as always. He's great. Gregg is still Agent Coulson, and what little he's given to do. The biggest problem, this is more a character thing than an acting thing, is the character of Maria Rambeau. Her character just kind of gets on my nerves. Her acting, I don't think her acting's bad. I think it's more the direction. One thing that I didn't talk about during our main review that kind of bugs me is, like, she has a very, like, calm reaction to the fact that there's aliens in her living room in that one scene.
She's like, oh, okay.
Like, everyone in this movie has a very mild reaction to the fact that aliens exist.
Oh my god, aliens. Like,
yeah.
Oh, alright, I guess.
Like, and that kind of bugged me, like, all the way through. But, other than that, acting's fine. I don't have Ben Mendelsohn. I really like him in this movie. I mean, he's still kind of the same old Ben Mendelsohn.
He's Ben Mendelsohn. But
he actually turns out to be the good guy. And he's actually kind of funny. Funnier than I think he is a lot of the times in these roles. But I really like him here. Like you said, writing is hit and miss. I think it's strong. Like I said, it's stronger early on. Kind of gets weaker as the movie goes along. There's some plot holes. There's some inconsistencies. There's a little bit of dragging in the middle. But, I mean, overall, it's a decently written film. I'm entertained for the most part. And that's all I can really ask for. Special effects, we've talked about it. Again, hit and miss. Samuel L. Jackson is a breakthrough in de-aging technology. Gregg is not really. he's kind of The CGI, especially towards the end, I think starts to get a little cartoonish, because they just have so much going on. And they were probably on a time... I mean, let's be honest. They were probably on a time crunch to get this movie out at a certain date before, a certain time limit frame before Endgame came out. And if you watch the credits on any of these big movies anymore, obviously ILM was the main special effects.
But you don't know
artist.
what ILM is, Industrial Light and Magic, which is a Lucasfilm company.
But they farm these things out to a lot of different
companies. A lot of visual effects companies.
That could contribute. I think that in a lot of movies, not just this one, I think that contributes to inconsistencies. I know they have like a couple people that monitor all of them as they go in and try to keep quality control. But I mean, it's hard when you're doing that, I'm sure. But the CGI, it doesn't take me out of the movie ever. Like, it never gets so bad that I'm like, oh, that's terrible. But if I'm, I gotta give this movie a star ranking. I'm wavering back and forth on what I want to give it. Oh man, I don't know. I guess I'll give it. I was thinking about giving it 3.5, but after talking it through in my head, I think I am gonna give it 3 high-level danger alien cats.
That's a pretty good joke.
Threat level danger high alien cats out of 5. 3 stars out of 5 is what I'm trying to say. I really thought about giving it 3.5, but there are flaws in this movie that I think a Marvel movie at this point, 21 movies into the franchise, they should know better than to do. But 3 out of 5 stars is a lot better. I was expecting to come in here and give this thing a 2 stars, maybe
Max.
less. Yeah, max. So for it to get 3 stars out of me, even despite doing one of my number one sins, pet peeves of beating you over the head with a message, I think it's pretty impressive. So,
I mean, Marvel is doing something truly amazing to create a 21 film arc or 22 film arc over the last 10 years, and
yeah,
to make pretty consistent films. I mean, yeah, we've had some missed ones in there. I mean, we've had,
like I always say, even
the Thor Ragnarok, not the Thor Ragnarok.
It's good.
The Thor Ragnarok's good. The Thor: The Dark World, or like Iron Man 2 or Iron Man 3, or even Captain America: The First Avenger isn't great.
But even those,
they're still,
even the Dark World, I think
they're still entertaining,
a serviceable blockbuster.
Yeah.
This, I would say, is a little bit of a step above a serviceable blockbuster.
I mean, it's pretty decent. I think
it's middle of the road. As far
I wouldn't call it,
but
mediocre.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, what I've been hearing from a lot of people. It's kind of, mediocre.
I wouldn't say. I think it's a step above mediocre.
It's a little bit. It's a step above mediocre.
It's good.
It's not
It's not great. It's good.
It's not great. I mean, I would say something like the first Avengers or Infinity War is outstanding, or amazing.
The first Avengers film, not the first Avenger, but
the first Avengers movie,
film,
and then Avengers
Winter Soldier is great.
Those are truly great films.
Good, really good.
This is it's a very entertaining movie. I'll give it that. I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
For the most part, this movie. I mean, I was really impressed. I mean, that's the biggest compliment I can give it. That it was.
Yeah.
Way better than I thought it was going to be.
And, personally, I like darker movies, so I like the darker tone films like Infinity War, like a Winter Soldier or a Civil War or whatever it may be. This is definitely not one of those. For the most part, this is a very lighthearted film. But it entertained me. And that's okay. You don't always have to be dark and brooding to entertain or for me to like it. But I like this movie. I'll say it. I liked it. And you know what?
I'm sure I'll have to watch it again at some point.
We'll watch it again at some point. I don't want people to think that I wanted to not like this movie. We expected it to be bad, but I don't think either of us go into it.
I didn't want to not like this movie. I'm like, this is a Marvel film. I mean, we're 21 films in. This is we're reaching the precipice of 10 years, and this is the final film before our last, hoorah. I don't want to dislike this film. I mean, I walked in, I'm like, I don't want this to be bad. I just have a feeling that it's not gonna be good.
Yeah, that was me too.
It's a Marvel movie, so I mean, in the back of your mind, you're like, it can't be terrible. I mean, it can't.
I figured it would be a serviceable blockbuster, but I think it's a bit more than that.
I mean, it did a lot more than I was expecting. So I mean, overall, I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm happy too. I'm glad that I saw it, and that's the important thing. So
but I just can't wait for April 26th.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting.
That's the movie to see.
I am worried. I saw an official plot synopsis that was released. Are
you sure it's official?
It's official. That's what I read, that it was official, and it worries me. There's something that I'm not gonna say what it is in case you want to go in spoiler free as possible, but there's a line in there that really bugs me, and unless it's a misdirect, which I hope it is, I don't like what they're gonna do with a certain character in this movie, but we'll see. I think we'll see what they do with it. I think it may be a misdirect. I hope it's a misdirect. So anyway, what do we got coming up?
Let's see. Coming up here pretty quickly, we have some movies.
Us.
Yeah, we have Us. I believe next week is what we have.
Week. I haven't determined the week after that. I still haven't looked at the movie schedule because I had that movie Greyhound. I don't even know what that is anymore. I don't even think it's probably coming out that week anymore. But I don't know what comes out the week after that we may want to see. Dumbo, I think, comes out at the end of this month.
Dumbo comes out at the end of the month.
And something else that weekend, too, that we want to see, right?
I believe Captive State comes out
Captive State, Captive State, we want to see that.
Let's see what we got coming out soon. We will not be watching actually, Captive State comes out this weekend. But this weekend we have... this weekend we may not have a film. We might go ahead and take this next weekend to...
this next weekend to Us.
Us doesn't come out till the 22nd.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So this weekend we might not really do anything. We might take this opportunity to do Star Wars, or we could do Suspiria.
I was gonna say we can rent. Well, because we've already done Star Wars for this month.
Yeah.
Well, we may rent Suspiria and watch that because we reviewed the old one way back in the day.
Toward the beginning of our podcast.
Way back in the day. But yeah, I really want to review that new Suspiria and review it. I think that's what we're gonna do. We'll go to Redbox.
Yeah, and then we'll follow that up on the 24th by that next weekend. We'll follow that up with us, Jordan Peele's new film, followed by Dumbo the week after that.
And then the week after that.
And then we have Shazam / Pet Sematary.
Hellboy.
We'll see both.
That.
Followed quickly by Hellboy on the 12th.
The 21st we'll watch Revenge of the Sith.
The 21st we're gonna do that, and then we will
Endgame.
have a big episode for Endgame, which will probably be a long episode.
Yeah, so that's
We'll be talking about what we're assuming is a 3-hour film.
That's our schedule through April. They should be pretty much as we just laid out, as Dylan just laid out there. So we hope that you continue to join us on our journey through these movies. I'm still having a lot of fun doing this.
I'm having a lot of fun. I think we've definitely improved a lot. We're getting a lot better at talking about films, I think.
Yeah, and I think with our setup here, I think our sound quality, if we stay close to the mic,
if we stay a little bit closer to the mic, it sounds pretty decent.
It sounds pretty good. I still hope to get a second mic at some point.
Yeah, we'll have to do that pretty quickly.
I'm gonna have to spend my freaking tax returns on a new computer though, because this one's about to die. But
it won't hurt.
Personal information, y'all don't need to know all this. I think that's pretty much all we got for you this week.
Yeah. Well, as always, I got to go ahead and plug those social medias. We are up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can follow us on all those. We're at DNA Film Wars, all lowercase, no space. So, like I said, give us a like or a follow. Tell your friends about us if you enjoy our us talking about these movies. So.
Yeah, and if you have any specific questions and or comments, you can always contact us at dnafilmwars@gmail.com. Please feel free to leave us a review anywhere, especially on iTunes.
The more you review us, the more people we can reach on iTunes.
The more people, yeah.
That's how their algorithm works.
Stupid iTunes. And just kidding. And as always, 5 stars reviews are appreciated. We are still uploading our videos to YouTube if you want to listen to them on YouTube. I don't know how long I'm going to keep doing that, but
if we ever decide that we want to start making videos like we discussed, which could potentially happen in the future if we ever have enough free time that we can decide that we actually want to, film videos and edit them, which is a longer process. But
it's a lot longer.
We'll discuss that. Maybe if we actually, take off a little bit more.
Yeah, if more people start listening and people start demanding it.
Busting down the walls and doors for the videos. They want to know what we look like.
Yeah, no. We could start posting pictures on our social media. I haven't posted
I haven't posted anything on Instagram forever.
I'm a bad social media person. But anyway.
I think that wraps it up for this week.
Yeah,
we hope you enjoyed this episode. Enjoyed us talking about Captain Marvel. A lot better than we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, make sure to join us next week for Suspiria. Mm-hmm. And as always, I'm Aaron.
I'm Dylan, and we'll catch you in the next one.
I keep having these memories. I see flashes. I think I had a life here. But I can't tell if it's real.